At the great house of Collinwood, Victoria Winters has returned from her strange and haunting adventures in the past. But the terrible events she lived through in 1795 are beginning to change not only her life, but the lives of those around her. And the changes are like a devil's game. One man escapes an ancient curse, another disappears, and a painting he took with him is mysteriously returned, though he is not.
Whose luggage is that, Vicky? It looks like Roger's.
It is.
Oh, then he's home. Did he say where he'd been?
He's not home.
Well, he must be. You would have brought his luggage.
I saw him leave. He took no luggage with him, only the painting. And now the painting is back. You can see for yourself.
He's been here.
If he had been here, he would have come to you or someone.
Well, I should think so, but pictures don't just reappear and luggage doesn't pack itself. I'm going to talk to Mrs. Johnson.
I already have. She's just as mystified as we are. She swears that last night when she went in there to turn off the lights, that painting was not on the easel, and I believe her.
Of course, I believe her, too. But maybe he came in late after we'd gone to bed.
But someone would have heard him drive up or go up to his room. I don't understand it.
What does it mean? There must be some explanation.
Why must it mean anything? We both know that something is happening here. Something that has no explanation.
I don't understand it at all, Elizabeth. Roger hasn't been himself lately.
Well, I know that. I told you I tried to get him to see the doctor the day we came to visit you at the hospital.
This disappearance is most unlike him. Have you informed the police?
Oh, yes, and I asked him to be as discreet as possible. I explained that he might just be away on a trip.
Well, that may have been a mistake. Perhaps we should have him listed as a missing person.
Well, obviously he's not. He's been here, the picture wouldn't be here.
Picture? Yes.
I can't bear to think of him wandering around.
That can't be true, or we'd have heard.
I hoped he'd come to you.
But he didn't.
Well, he must be seeing someone. Roger's not given to being alone, and that ridiculous story that police told Dr. Hoffman about his having checked out of the Collinsport Inn. Why would he check in? It doesn't make sense.
Elizabeth, you're upsetting yourself. Now, may I suggest that you go upstairs and rest? There's nothing that we can figure out anyway. Now, let Vicky and me do your worrying for you.
All right, I'll call the yards. Maybe they'd have heard something. Excuse me.
Of course.
Barnabas, why do these things keep happening?
One mistake can multiply into 1,000. You must dispose of this portrait, you know.
What?
Vicky, do you trust me?
You know I do.
I try to remember that, just as I try to remember that I must not reproach you for the reasons you've given not to marry me. I must not give you reasons for avoiding me.
You know I would never do that.
I hope not. You know, I'm convinced that this portrait has something to do with Roger's behavior.
But how can that be?
We can't answer those questions. Where would we end? How did you manage to be spirited off to the 18th century? How was it that we survived the accident? There have been so many things that we cannot understand.
I know. I tried to tell Mrs. Stoddard.
For example, Roger's change began when you brought that portrait into this house.
Really?
Now think. He wouldn't let you sell it to Professor Stokes.
Yes, that's true.
Roger's never been that fond of painting. This picture has a very special meaning for him, a deeply disturbing force. I didn't want to say when Elizabeth was here, but Julia and I saw him last night.
Where?
At Dr. Lang's.
Is he sick?
I don't know. Perhaps he is, but in a way that Dr. Lang cannot treat. He was most peculiar. And that's all I want to say. When Julia started to drive him home, well, he jumped out of the car and disappeared.
We've got to do something.
We must begin by getting rid of that.
Barnabas, you know something I don't.
Well, perhaps I have a greater intuition about his wrong than you.
But Angelique died well over 150 years ago. Yes, she was a witch, but...
Do witches ever die?
You think she still has powers?
Yes.
Well, then I must call Professor Stokes and tell him if he still wants the painting, that he must come here and pick it up.
I called the yard. His secretary said he had important meetings scheduled for yesterday and this morning.
Liz, where is everyone? My dear sister.
Roger, you're back. We've been so worried.
Oh, well, I think explanations are so absurd, don't you? Vicky, ask Mrs. Johnson to bring in some champagne, will you?
Champagne?
Yes, my dear sister. We have much to celebrate.
What?
In a moment, you will see. Here we are. Now, if I may, I would like you all to meet my wife.
Your wife, Roger?
Yes, quite a surprise, isn't it? Even for me, but a pleasant one. Cassandra, dear, this is my sister, Elizabeth Stoddard.
Mrs. Stoddard, I know how amazed you must be. So am I. I only hope that you're as happy as I am.
Well, I'm sure I will be as soon as I get my breath.
And this is my cousin, Barnabas Collins.
How do you do, Mrs. Collins?
I hope we shall be good friends, Mr. Collins. Roger has told me how fond he is of you.
And this is my son's governess, our good friend, Victoria Winters.
How do you do?
I'm so anxious to meet David. I'm so sorry he's in Boston. Oh, I do so hope he likes me. Of course, it will be quite a shock to him, as it obviously is to all of you.
Where were you married?
In Rockport, at the City Hall.
You should have come here, Roger.
We wanted to get married as quickly as possible.
He's so impatient. It wasn't at all the marriage that I always dreamed I would have. Mr. Collins, is there something wrong?
No, nothing. If you'll excuse me.
Oh, you're not deserting us, Barnabas.
Oh, no, please.
Oh, please wait for a toast, because we'll be leaving right after.
Leaving? Where are you going?
Roger insists that we have a honeymoon in the West Indies.
Which island are you visiting?
Oh, I don't know for sure. Martinique, possibly.
Have you been there before?
No. Oh, but I'm sure I shall like it.
Yes. I understand that it has changed considerably in recent years.
Vicky, she is beautiful, yes, but you've been doing nothing but staring at her. You've forgotten about the champagne.
Yes, you're right. Excuse me, I'll get it right away.
Roger, you're not planning on leaving immediately.
Yes, we only came here just to tell you the news and to get my luggage.
But we have much to talk about.
I understand your feelings perfectly, Mrs. Stoddard.
Elizabeth, please.
I begged him to call.
I wish he had.
Oh, but he's so determined. Oh, as you know, you all know him so much better than I do. I envy you so.
I think perhaps you know him better than any of us.
Why, how courtly of you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you.
An evening with Barnabas is like reading a history book.
Oh, more fascinating, I hope.
I believe that.
Well, I hope not too fascinating, my dear. Barnabas is a bachelor.
You never married?
Oh, you'll get his story soon enough. In a month, you'll know it all. But where is that champagne? We want to be in Boston by evening.
Roger, we must talk business
Oh,
before you leave.
It can wait, I'm
no,
sure.
it can't. There are certain things that will you excuse us?
Of course.
I have to know certain things about the yards, and there are some papers you must sign.
Oh, very well. When the champagne comes, let me know. I won't be very good business today, my dear.
I love this room.
You've never been here before?
Why, no, of course not. How could I have been?
I don't know. I just thought that you might, that's all.
No. But I've always dreamed of living in a house like this.
Well, now your dream has come true.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yes, incredible. That's the word. Almost too incredible to believe.
Now, what is this business?
My question first. What is this marriage?
Oh, don't be tiresome, Liz.
I'm not being tiresome. I'm not going to allow you to...
I have already done it, Liz.
I know you have, Roger, and I want an explanation, and now.
I don't think I owe you an explanation. Would you owe me one if you decided to remarry?
I most certainly would. And your wife has not been reported officially dead.
But she is dead.
Legally, you are still married.
A technicality, dear Elizabeth.
One I would hate to use.
Well, I wouldn't advise you to try.
Well, I may have to.
As far as I'm concerned, we are legally married. There would be no harm in our living together, since any court decision would undoubtedly be in our favor.
And if it wasn't?
Elizabeth, I love her. Do you have any idea of what that means?
Well, of course.
It means that I would be willing to go through any scandal to be with her.
Your marriage will cause scandal enough.
Oh, so that's what worries you?
No, it isn't. You know it isn't. I worry about you and my brother. Why haven't we met this girl before?
I've only just met her myself.
When?
And yet it seems like I've known her all my life.
When did you meet her, Roger?
Oh, it's immaterial.
It is not. Where did you meet her?
At Rockport.
How?
Stop treating me as though I were Carolyn.
Your behavior is younger than Carolyn's.
I've been very lonely.
And a stranger can stop that?
She is not a stranger to me.
She has to be.
Oh, Liz, you only understand rules. As far as you're concerned, I should have met an already approved widow. One with whom I would have spent months sipping tea and having dinner, until finally we got to know each other so well that we got bored to death with each other. And then we would marry. Well, I don't want that. I want what I've got.
Did you think of David?
Of course I've thought of my son. He needs his mother.
Well, you didn't give him a chance to get to know her.
But he will get a chance to know her. If I was as young as you accuse me of being, there would perhaps be time for me to go through the usual amenities, but there's not.
What have you in common with her?
Oh, there's no point in discussing this with you.
You must.
You're obviously hostile.
I am not. I'm sensible.
Well, they're often the same thing.
Roger, you haven't answered one of my questions. I don't know any more about your wife than I did when we walked into this room.
Why bother telling you? You're obviously against it.
I most certainly am not, if she can make you happy.
You were very rude to her just now.
Well, I was in a state of shock. I had no warning.
Well, I didn't think it was necessary.
I'll tell you what is necessary, Roger. For you to tell your wife that you haven't been well.
Well, that would be a lie.
No, it would not.
I've never felt better in my life.
And you must enter a hospital for some tests.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that for the past week, your behavior has been so irrational.
Oh, so now I'm insane simply because I'm trying to take a chance at happiness. Are you so embittered yourself that
Roger, this has nothing to do with me.
Or me?
Yes, it has. Now, I'll try to explain it to her as gently as I can.
I forbid it.
Roger?
I forbid it, Liz. If you go ahead with this, I will leave this house with her, and I will never return.
So many lovely things. Oh, I do wish Roger weren't so eager for a honeymoon trip. Why, this place is as foreign to me as Martinique would be.
Even more foreign, perhaps.
What do you mean? A perfect likeness of you.
That is not a portrait of me.
Oh, I don't believe you.
Look at the clothes.
They suit you so. Were you in costume when it was painted?
He is an ancestor of mine.
How unusual, the likeness.
So you said. Now, if you'll excuse me,
Oh, you mustn't go.
we'll see each other again soon.
Inevitably.
Yes, inevitably.
Has Barnabas left?
Yes, but he'll be back. Oh, you brought the champagne. Do you think I should go in and interrupt them? Roger asked me to, but I didn't want to do anything wrong. You're going to have to help me in so many ways.
I'm sure that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is. Well, just meeting Mrs. Stoddard and Barnabas has made me see that I have many things to learn. And to think only yesterday I knew nothing of any of this. But there I was at Professor Stokes' house.
Professor Stokes? Is that where you met Roger?
Yes, I just transferred to the college. Professor Stokes is my faculty advisor. Was. You see, all this is so new to me. Why are you looking at me so closely?
Forgive me, I wasn't aware that I was.
You were. I'm so upset that David isn't here. I'm very good with children.
Perhaps you'd like to see some snapshots of him.
Oh, I'd love it. Does he look like Roger?
No. Actually, he's the image of an ancestor of his, Daniel. But you don't know anything about him yet.
No.
I'll see if I can find a picture of Daniel as well.
On your way back, would you knock at the door and tell Roger it's getting late? They won't mind if you do it. And, well, you know, I miss him so.